A disease is considered rare if it shows up in fewer than 1 in every 2,000 people. Most of them are inherited. Most of them start in childhood. But then there are these rare diseases that show up for no apparent reason. The Pediatric Hematology and Oncology Division at the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital here in Saskatoon, well, it's currently the only Canadian site for a drug trial for one of these ultra-rare blood diseases. This is one that appears randomly and attacks red blood cells. And if you look at the stats, it generally affects about 6 people out of every million. It's the reason why we're talking to Dr. Katie Felton and to Dr. Sarah Tehseen today on Researchers Under the Scope. Hi, I'm your host, Jen Cannell, and we're recording this as we mark Rare Disease Day on the last day of February. And patients with rare diseases might tell you that being one of those outliers can change the way that a person moves through the world. Sometimes their treatments are costly, some up to $500,000 a year or more. And even when you're on the best medicine we can offer, you don't necessarily have all that energy or physical function that you would need to visit your friends, to play sports, to go to school or to work every day. Now, this is where I want to bring in Dr. Katie Felton and Dr. Sarah Tehseen. They are running a phase 3 drug trial here in Saskatoon for teens with a blood disorder, a form of anemia. Dr. Sarah Tehseen is an assistant professor at the College of Medicine. She specializes in pediatric hematology and transfusion medicine at the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital. She's also the medical director of the Saskatoon Cellular Therapy Laboratory, and she joins us now. Hello there, Sarah. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have Dr. Katie Felton with us. She's a pediatric hematology oncologist, and she's the principal investigator for the Children's Oncology Group. Hi there, Katie, and welcome to the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. And hi, Sarah.
Hi, Katie.
On Researchers Under the Scope, a lot of the time we're trying to figure out what makes our scientists and our clinicians tick and kind of why they're so passionate about this work. So I'm going to ask each of you, where did medicine begin for you? Actually, Sarah, do you want to go first?
Okay, sure. So I have physician parents, so I grew up seeing them play doctor or be doctor, and I listened to a lot about blood disorders as a child growing up, even in grade 6, grade 7, grade 8, just talking to my dad, and it just kind of became interesting for me. And it just, that interest in hematology just stayed and became stronger throughout my period in medical school and residency and fellowship. Hence, I trained in transfusion medicine because it's an adjunct to peds hematology oncology and complements it very nicely from a hematology or a blood disorder perspective. And it just helps me enjoy my role as a children's blood doctor more and solve the problems more. I find it really joyful because a lot of things in hematology world are a problem to solve, something to diagnose, and it just helps me play that detective a lot.
Okay, a problem to solve, and you can be the detective. That kind of makes sense. And Katie, for you, medicine always was a thing for you, or how did you come to be passionate about this?
It was actually anti-medicine. So when you do university and you go into science, like 90% of your class is for medicine. I was the one outlier, was anti-medicine. So I never wanted to do medicine in university, and I was going to go into research. So I went into cancer research. But as my cancer research continued with the cells and the bench work, I found I was more interested in why is it important for a person? Why is it important for that patient? What am I doing today is going to help a patient? And so I switched. So I got into medicine. I had have a lot of perseverance. I applied multiple times, and my perseverance won out. And got in 3 weeks before classes started, and have never looked back. And I am no longer anti-medicine, obviously. And I think for peds, we have fun. So we do
Yeah.
bunny hop races down the hallway with our patients. We dress up for Halloween. So even though, yeah, I deal with blood disorders and cancer, which are really can be difficult conversations with families, we still have fun in our day job. And yes, I have videos of me bunny hopping down the hallway race with my patients, which is a lot of fun.
And I know that your patients are, they're so young, right? And here we are talking about Rare Diseases Day. And I've always kind of wondered, when you are the physician that they come to and they say, okay, I've got this diagnosis. Now what? What is that like for you?
Um, I think it really helps me to know the person. What is their interest? What video games they play? What sports they play? What do they do in arts? What do they like in school? Who their friends are? Because it helps me put the person in context. It helps me figure out how this disease is going to affect their life. How can I still make them continue to be who they want to be while they are dealing with the disease, and how I manage their care to so that they are fulfilled. So for us, it's a lot of serious conversations. It's a lot of scary conversations. It's a lot of boring conversations, especially when it comes to the child. And it's one of the first conversations. A lot of time they will tune out, and it's very genuine. I mean, a 3-year-old is not going to sit while I talk about a blood disorder with their parents quietly in a room. Like that's not a genuine expectation. That's not fair to them. It is it is something that you get good at with time. There is more nervousness. There's definitely a lot more stress of doing that. As a physician, when you start out your career, you become a little bit more comfortable with it as the time goes by, and you develop tips and tricks. Knowing the person that you are trying to treat helps you put the disease in context and figure out what's important to them, and that helps me help the families.
Yeah, I mean, we are often with these families on one of the worst days of their life when their child is diagnosed sick, whether or not it's a blood disorder or cancer, something probably they're going to live with for the rest of their life. So I think working as part of a team, I find really helpful. It's not just about me, the physician, it's about my other group of physicians helping me come up with the best plan. It's that child life specialist helping me get that blood work for that kid today and ongoing. It's our whole team working with that family, getting them through that worst day of their life, and the relationships we build, like Sarah said, getting them through the next day, week, month, and years ahead. So it's yes, knowing my job is important. I come up with the medical plans, but it's also working with our team, supporting that family with the child getting the blood pokes, the parents figuring out how to take time off work. So it's not just the physician, it's the team environment we have too in both of our hematology program and oncology programs.
I had just sort of spoken in the introduction about this ultra rare blood disease that both of you have come to be treating for a patient in Saskatoon. You managed to somehow get the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital in our city selected as the only Canadian site for this phase 3 pharmaceutical trial for pediatric patients for this new drug. Can you tell us a little bit, Sarah, about how this fits into the picture of rare diseases?
Sure. So the disease that we are talking about, you're very right. It's anemia, and it's anemia that's happening due to breakdown of red cells. And it's chronic, so it's ongoing. So ever since the diagnosis, this child has been having a low hemoglobin or low red blood cells, and due to ongoing breakdown, and that makes her very tired, changes the color of her skin, gives her pain, and all of these things which significantly affect the way that she shows up in school, at home, with her friends, and her life, right? And even though this is a disease which is rare in adults, it's ultra rare in children. So that figure of one in a million or 6 in a million is a good approximation for adults. But when it comes to children, I don't even think we have good epidemiological data to give you a number, so to speak.
It's that small.
It's that small, exactly. And so because of that, so she was started on the standard of care for this particular treatment pretty much as soon as her diagnosis. However, the standard of care was not sufficient to control her anemia and the breakdown of red cells, which she continues to have. And as we saw it beginning to affect the quality of her life, we began to look for alternative options. And one of the alternative options is this medication. Now it's approved in adults, so you do not need to go through a clinical trial to access that. But for my pediatric patient, the only way for me to access the drug was to actually have her enroll in the clinical trial to get it and get her quality of life to where it needs to be.
Yeah. I think our real goal really is to allow her to go to school when she wants to go to school, which is hopefully every day, to be able to hang out with her friends, to have less evidence that she's sick. Right. So, I mean, if you have a change in skin color, that kind of is not ideal for a teenager.
Is this
So
like
hopefully,
jaundice that we're talking,
yeah,
or?
this is jaundice. So yelling of the eyes, yellow of the skin. So we're hopeful that this medication and clinical trial will affect her day to day, which is being able to enjoy life more.
What is her day to day like before she was able to be on this? Like, did she need to have like blood transfusions, or like what kind of medication does she have to come for IVs? Like,
So her baseline or normal hemoglobin is lower than what is normal for a child her age, So that means that she has more fatigue at baseline than anybody her age who is in her class or is her age matched peer. So that's one thing. The yellow color of skin obviously was very distressful to her and definitely caused her to be a little bit of an outlier in school and had struggled because of that. And then she had pain. She had headaches, she had abdominal pain, and all of those things just contribute to missing school, missing life, just not being able to show up as your most energetic, most best version. And so she was definitely struggling. She required sometimes blood transfusions to actually bring her hemoglobin up to a safe level, as well as and she continues on the standard of care medication, which is an IV, which was started when she was first diagnosed.
And Sarah, correct me. I think she gets those once a month. So
Once every 8 weeks.
8 weeks, every
8
2
weeks.
months. And then in terms of transfusions, those often happen like evenings, weekends, when she's actually trying to have some fun. So if we can decrease that at all, I think that's the best for her.
well, and having an outlier of a disease as a child with an incredibly rare disease like that, and this isn't something that's genetic, is it? Did she just get unlucky?
Unfortunately, she did. She did get unlucky on this. We typically don't think that this type of anemia is inherited.
So the two of you, she comes to hospital, and you're like, okay, well, we've got to be able to fix some of these side effects. We've got to be able to get her into a better spot. What did it take to bring this phase 3 trial for her to Saskatoon?
Katie.
Doing
I
clinical trial
nominate
work.
Katie.
Okay, so doing clinical trial work, I almost want to summarize it as death by paperwork or death by email. So there's paperwork to make sure that we're doing all the right thing, that our patients or participants are safe. We're following all the rules and regulations of Health Canada and the university and the health authority. So that's one set of paperwork. Then we have all the paperwork from what we call our sponsor or the company or the person leading the trial. They want to make sure we're collecting all the information. So what about the blood work? What about the medicine? What about all the side effects from the medicine to make sure we're covering all that information? It all leads to a lot of help from Sarah, myself, and our 2 research practitioners helping us do all this paperwork. But it's a lot of kind of time and energy for kind of Sarah and I off the side of our desk. and our research professionals helping us get through, yes, all the, I would say, again, death by email. Sometimes 40 or 50 emails a day.
Oh my goodness.
And you have to reply to them. You can't even delete them.
You can't even ignore them at all.
Yes.
Sarah, when you knew that you wanted to put this patient on the medication, like what was going through your head at that moment as you went, okay,
So
to make this come here, here's what I got to do?
So really, I was like, she cannot live like this. This is not a fair thing. She needs to have access to this drug. How am I going to get access to the drug? Okay, it's through clinical trial. All right. I reached out to Katie and then we kind of made a plan. Did I anticipate the amount of regulatory work that we had to do? I had some idea, but I think for me, it's the first experience of being a site PI for an industry-led clinical trial. And yes, the regulations are quite extensive. So me and Katie, we were very comfortable with the institutional requirements, with the REB, with the operational approvals, with what is required from Saskatchewan Health Authority and University of Saskatchewan. I think the learning curve for us and our team has been the requirements of the industry, and definitely theirs are extensive and with good reason. They have a focus on patient safety and they need the data to actually show that this does what it's postulated to do, like the drug actually works or doesn't work or whatever, right? So it makes sense, but I could not have done this without support from the Peds Hematology Oncology Research Team, our CRA Sarah, who is fantastic, with Tehseen.
What's a CRA?
CRA is a clinical research associate. I'm so sorry. I keep saying CRA.
He was like the tax guy. Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that too. But in any case, this is our clinical research associate. She's fantastic and definitely has done a phenomenal job of keeping us on toes and making sure we are able to. She is almost like our executive function, like she is the one who makes sure that we are doing the things in a timely manner so that this patient continues to get the drug that she needs. Am I right?
And Sarah, don't forget, we have two. We have Tehseen and a Sarah. Mm-hmm. So there's both of them, and they've definitely helped us get through the emails, the paperwork, and keeping us on track for ensuring we can keep our patient on study.
You're doing this all off the side of your desk because last I checked, you're both full-time clinicians who have a few other patients too, right?
Correct. So our team is small in our division. We have basically 6.5 of us since Sarah has a second job with transfusions. So I think our team has supported us, giving us some time, usually in the end of the day, to get this done. But it is a challenge since our patients come first. Right? So research and clinical trials kind of come second, but always our patients come first in our hematology practice and in our oncology practice.
I was thinking about how we're at the end of February today. And we're talking about rare diseases. A lot of us here in Saskatchewan got to go for vacations over the last week. We got to leave. I feel like not only your patient is maybe tied down here, but if anything happens, both of you have to be on call, don't you?
So we are kind of on call for this patient for the duration of the drug trial, right? So if there is something going on with her and somebody else is on hematology service, they will be calling me or they will be calling Katie to actually help resolve the issue. And if there is an in-person appointment for the patient, which is sometimes unavoidable because of the fact that this patient needs to have scheduled blood draws and scheduled physical assessments as a part of the clinical trial, one of us has to be on site for that. So definitely it requires some changing in plans for us at times to be able to accommodate and facilitate that. I will say though that having two physicians doing it together rather than doing it alone has been super helpful because of my transfusion role, I have relationships on the laboratory side of things, which allowed us to get access to the specimen processing, the lab processing things that we needed for this patient. And then Katie's extensive knowledge of the regulatory things has been super helpful in expediting it as well. So there has been, I feel like tag teaming it has been way more beneficial.
Yeah, 100%. We could not have done this by ourselves. We definitely need two of us to do this, and then our associates as well.
At what point does the study period end? And how will you kind of know, okay, yes, it worked, or not much benefit for her?
So the main results are after 4 months, and we're seeing even benefit now. But the sponsor of the company is going to look at things at approximately 4 months' time. And then if she's doing well on this medication, she can actually continue, which is excellent. So that's hopefully our plan is to do the initial 4 months of treatment, and then as long as she's doing well, is to continue on it after that.
I know I mentioned costs earlier in the show too, and if she had to magically pay for this out of pocket, if she was suddenly an adult and had to pay for this drug, I think it's running at somewhere like $500,000 Canadian minimum a year to put that drug along with the other ones she would need to keep her blood going.
Yes,
It is like that's incredibly expensive.
that is. And on the pediatric side, the provincial drug plan would actually cover more than 95% of the cost of both drugs, right? Like, so it will cover most of the drug. But then,
My quick math tells me that would still leave her holding the bag for like $25,000 or more. Like that's still quite a lot.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Am I right in saying that, Katie? Like, I may have to confirm this, but for now things are good. And I think as long as she's under 17, the things will be mostly good. But once she becomes an adult and she goes on the on the adult provincial drug plan, things change, and they are required to have a little bit more of that. That becomes a little bit more of a financial burden for our families. And this is true for many other of our patients as well. Am I correct in saying that? Right?
Yeah, I think in terms of cost right now, we're lucky because the company is providing it to us. And as long as she's
Yeah.
on this study, they will continue. So even after that 4 months, she will be able to continue on it as long as it's working for her, which is great. I think the tricky point for this will be when she becomes an adult, will that
Mm-hmm.
change? And I
Yeah.
worry for the family that they might have to have some of this cost, but we would have to, again, involve our pharmacy team to figure out the exact cost. And I think we advocate as physicians with our pharmacy team and our social work teams that to try to minimize cost to families on a day-to-day basis. Because even, yeah, $100, $1,000, $25,000, any amount is a challenge for a family.
It's substantial.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and especially
So
when
it,
your child's still sick, like they're getting
Mhm.
better-ish, they're keeping it contained, but this is a lifelong condition for her, isn't it?
Correct.
It is. Yep. So yes, absolutely. And this is not our first time we will be doing this, but it will require a lot of advocacy on our part to make sure that when she is transitioning to adults, she has the supports in place to be able to access the medication with as low cost as possible.
In the big picture, looking at this patient and then all the other kids who come in with rare diseases, kids who come in with cancers that are usually pretty rare in small people,
Mm-hmm.
what's your hope in terms of what we can do for these patients and how we can help?
I think one of the easy things for the family, if you're able, is to do like a donation to our Jim Pattison Children's Hospital Foundation, because that is set up to help families, sometimes as simple as paying for parking, right? So that if you have to come to hospital 4 days in a week, maybe you can get your parking covered. So I think if you're able, a financial support is always welcome to our foundation. But I know sometimes money is not able to be given away. So something as simple as being a blood donor. So again, we do transfusions for pediatric patients really on a daily basis in our clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So almost guaranteed there is someone getting a blood transfusion right now, right this moment in our clinic. So and we all have blood in our bodies to be able to donate. So being a blood donor is something that anyone can do, or most people can do, to help us with that. And I think I would encourage everyone to check it out. Go to your local blood donor center and see if that's something that you can do.
I think as the other hope is when we have public awareness, when we have awareness of healthcare providers, not just people who are in pediatric hematology oncology, but people who are general pediatricians or family physicians or ER physicians, when we have more knowledge, more awareness about rare diseases, we are able to advocate for better healthcare at every level. We are able to generate avenues for funding for research. We are able to access novel therapies. So I think my hope is, in addition to hoping that she will feel much better and her disease will be in vastly better control, is to be to have to be a part of a world where rare diseases do not lead to patient isolation, do not lead them to be separated out, and they have villages around them to be able to support themselves as they go through life and make life more worth living. I think this is my second hope as well. And that's really all.
I guess for another thing that people can get involved instead of blood donation is like the bone marrow transplant registry. Again, our patient does not require that at this time, but we can all also do a cheek swab and send it in and potentially be on the registry for a bone marrow donor. And so that's something also that it doesn't have any cost to it. I think the program in Canada is called One Match. And then if there's someone that needs the same type of bone marrow you have in the future, you would be contacted potentially to be a donor. So that is also something that if you're looking to do something, that anyone can be on the bone marrow registry in Canada to help sometimes your neighbor, sometimes the person down the street, across the country, or even across the world.
Such a good point. You know what? I will find the links for One Match and for Canadian Blood Services. I'm just going to throw them in our show notes so that, like, if you're listening, you can go back and click on those and you can actually find out, okay, where does a clinic near me? How do I get this done? Because, yeah, low
Perfect.
cost, and you never know who it could help.
Yeah,
Yep.
agreed.
And as a layperson, when you think about it, learn about the disease, like know what it is. Know if she's your classmate, if she's your student, know what it is, how it's affecting her, because the more you know, the better you're able to show up in the life of that person. And I feel like a big problem with rare diseases is that people don't know enough about them. So then they don't even know how to take the first step. And sometimes taking that first step makes a huge difference.
Well, I want to congratulate you both on how much you've been able to do for this patient, on being able to bring her medication that really does make her quality of life that much better. That's huge, and you deserve some congratulations there. So congratulations. And thank you so much for just being here on the podcast with us and for helping us mark Rare Disease Day. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen. It's been a pleasure talking with you today, and hopefully we can get the word out on rare diseases.
Thank you, Jen. It was really fantastic.
Dr. Sarah Tehseen is a specialist in pediatric hematology and transfusion medicine. Dr. Katie Felton is a pediatric hematology oncologist and the principal investigator for the Children's Oncology Group site here in Saskatoon. Now, they're both assistant professors at the University of Saskatchewan College of Medicine and full-time clinicians at the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital. These are the two who teamed up last summer to bring this phase 3 drug trial to Saskatoon. And the whole idea, as they said, is to treat young people who have this really ultra-rare blood disease, this form of anemia, caused by what's effectively a random mutation. I'll put a link to their work in our show notes, and I'll also, as promised, I'll put that link to One Match. That's where you can get swabbed in the cheek, register to be on that bone marrow stem cell transplant list. This registry is really crucial for people who have cancer, who have rare diseases, and it's kind of a practical way that we can help them out. Researchers Under the Scope is a presentation of the Office of the Vice Dean of Research at the University of Saskatchewan's College of Medicine, and we record and produce this podcast on Treaty 6 territory, and we pay our respect to the First Nations and the Métis elders of this place. We reaffirm our relationship with one another. And this is the part where I want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in, for sharing your ears with us, and for caring about science and about medicine and rare diseases in particular today. I'm Jen Cannell, and thank you for listening to us here on Researchers Under the Scope.